back to my channel. I'm Jessica Kionis, your local vocal coach, and this is my sequel to my beginner's guide for everything that you need to know as a singer. I'm going to go through 4 to 5 topics today of all the things that beginner singers need to know so that you can be ready to start jumping into lessons with a teacher or to training yourself or to just working on singing and really ramping up your singing technique. In this video, we are going to be covering 4 topics. The first one is building confidence and working through stage fright as a beginner singer. The second one is going to be finding your personal style as a singer. And then we're going to talk about pitch accuracy, working through runs, all of the things that we need to know for agility as a singer. And then last, we're going to talk about how to train your voice so that you can really start working on ramping it up as a singer. So here we go, let's get into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is building confidence and how to work through stage fright as a singer. So personally, I have worked so hard to overcome stage fright and performance anxiety throughout my career, and I've done tons of research into what really helps. And I totally understand how it can be one of the scariest things we do to be vulnerable on stage and to share our gift with the world. So let's get into what I think can really help as a beginner singer to start building that confidence and working through those fears. It's probably the worst answer you could hear, but it's truly proven through research that the best way to overcome stage fright is to just keep trying. Just keep trying. So if you go and you have a performance in front of one person, even just one person who you really trust, and that's all you can handle, and you feel so scared, and it's like the scariest thing you've ever done, but you do it, and even if you black out and you don't remember any of it, the next time that you sing in front of someone after that, it will be a little bit easier. And the next time, a little bit easier. And the next time, a little bit easier. And eventually, you're going to be singing in front of multiple people without feeling intense nerves. The reason why we feel so scared about singing in front of people is because we don't do it a lot. You may have never sung in front of somebody before, and we're so worried about that judgment, right? We're so worried about, what are these people going to think of me? What are they going to hear? What if I mess up and it's super embarrassing? All of these things that go through our head. But what we need to be thinking of and focusing on is that eventually it's going to feel easier. We want to think of singing almost like an instrument, right? So if this is your very first performance, or your very first time working through a song and singing for somebody, the odds are you are not going to be amazing. And that's okay. If it was your very first piano recital, you probably wouldn't be amazing. But people are there to support you, and they're there to support your journey. And if you can find one person or a group of people who you feel super confident in front of and who you feel like aren't judging you and who are just really supporting you, that's the best way to start working through that stage fright. Would I suggest jumping on stage in front of 100,000 people for your first performance? Probably not, unless you feel super ready for that. But just a group of people, a small amount of people, your family, somebody that you feel so comfortable with, is going to be your best bet for that first time singing in front of somebody. And then next time, we're going to do a little bit more. We're going to sing maybe through the whole song instead of just the reverse and a chorus. Or maybe singing something that feels a little more nervous for you, something you're not as comfortable with. Or even purposefully singing badly in front of somebody. Because I think a lot of the fear comes from we're so scared to make bad sounds, right? We're so scared to make these ugly sounds or have a voice crack or have something happen. But the more that you do that in front of people, the more we start to realize that that's actually very normal and very common. And that as a singer, if you really want to be a singer, you're going to have tons of days where your voice has a random voice crack or something happens and it's not the sound that you wanted it to be. And that's okay. And that's actually very normal. And so the more that you get through that process and you work through that, the more that you're going to build confidence in your sound, the more that you're going to feel okay about accidentally making weird sounds or having a voice crack or what have you, and the more that it's going to feel easier. The second aspect that's going to really help you with stage fright is to be extremely prepared. So if you feel like you know this song in and out to the point where you could completely black out and your muscle memory is going to take over and know the words, you're going to be less nervous than if you were going on stage and you don't really know the words and you're worried about if you're going to mess that up and you're worried about if you even know the song fully, and all of these things are stressing you out even more. So just being extremely prepared is going to be that second aspect to really, really feeling confident on stage, and it will keep you from feeling super nervous if you are just 100% sure that you're going to nail it no matter what happens, because you've sang that song 100 times and you could do it in your sleep. Next, we are going to talk about finding your own personal style as a singer. So, a lot of times when we are growing up, we hear singers who we really love and who we resonate with, and those are the singers that sometimes we sort of mimic or copy or gravitate towards, and it can become kind of hard to figure out if you're really singing your own style or if you've just been kind of mimicking other singers your whole life. First thing I want to say is it is okay to take inspiration from other singers and to copy their style or to use part of their style or learn techniques from those singers. If you just absolutely love Adele's voice and your voice is very similar naturally in tone, and that style of singing those ballads just calls to you, it is okay if you hear from people all the time, you kind of sound like Adele, or you sound a lot like Adele. That is okay, because nobody is 100% unique as a singer, right? We all have our own unique things that we're going to put into our style, but we are, at the end of the day, all just kind of taking inspiration from other singers and from other styles and genres that we've heard. So it is okay if you do that, if you mimic other singers and you find yourself really gravitating towards specific sounds. Now, if you feel like you don't have your own voice and you have a bunch of singers that you just kind of mimic, and every song you hear you sing differently on, and you just don't really know your own style, this is what we're going to do to help find your personal style. So you're going to want to take a vocal track, something you can YouTube it, find something on YouTube or whatever, and you're just going to put in like instrumental track for a song that you don't know. So it has to be a song that you don't know and a singer you don't know. So don't look up like karaoke version to Shallow by Lady Gaga, right? It has to be something that you've never heard before, a song you don't know and a singer you don't know, so that we're not automatically kind of mimicking those sounds just based off of what we've heard before. It can even just be some random track that doesn't even have words. Once you find that, you're going to find an environment where you feel completely judgment free and comfortable. So, meaning like when nobody's home or when you're all by yourself, if you have to go drive somewhere far away and you're just sitting in your car, something like that. That's going to be really key, because it's going to mean that you're not feeling judgment, that nobody can hear you, and you're not worried about anybody listening and kind of judging you. So once you've got your track and you're somewhere judgment free in a really comfortable environment, you're going to explore and sing freely. So what I mean by that is you are going to sing and just see what comes to you. So it doesn't even have to be lyrics. It can literally just be sounds or oohs or runs or big belty ahs or whatever it is, but just see what comes to you naturally. In doing this, you're going to be looking for those things that just feel like your voice. Something that feels like it is just coming from your soul and it brings you joy. And when you sing like that, it feels like you. It feels like your style. So if you're singing tons of runs and you're like, man, this just fills my cup, I just love this, that probably means that your style is going to be including a lot of runs. Or if you're singing more musical theatery, more mixy, belty stuff, and that you just love that, then that's probably going to be a part of your style. And you might have to do this exercise 2, 3, 4 times to start really finding what feels good for you. It can feel a little awkward at first trying to improvise and just kind of jump in and do some exercises like this. But the more that you do it and the more that you kind of trust the process, the more that you're really going to start to find those things that just feel like your personal voice. Another thing that can really help finding your style is just to start by simply talking. Simply talking. You can find a random poem online and read that poem out loud and see how your voice sounds. Our chest voice is literally just our spoken voice but on pitch. And so a lot of times we have these preconceived ideas of what our voice should sound like. And so when we start singing, it sounds vastly different than the way that we talk. And that can be a sign of bad learned behaviors, or you're like mimicking sounds that you've heard before. So if your singing voice sounds drastically different than your talking voice, that could be a sign that maybe you're not finding your specific sound. Not all the time. Some people's singing voice really does sound differently. But a lot of the times, our speaking voice, it's going to be the foundation to everything that we sing. And so it should be strong and full and sure. So if you take that poem and you read it out loud and you can sort of feel like you're almost singing it a little bit, and we're not really singing, we're not putting those words on pitch, but we're just kind of feeling what that would feel like if we were to sing it. That can also give you an indication of how that bottom part, that lower part, that chest voice of your voice should sound when we're just leaving it to how it naturally works rather than trying to make it sound a specific way. Okay, next we're going to talk about pitch accuracy, how to sing on pitch, what that even means, how to find the key of your song, all of those things. I get questions about this all the time. How do I know if I'm singing on pitch? How do I find the key of my song? All of these things can feel really confusing if you don't have a background in music theory or in music in general. So we're going to break it down really simply, and I'm going to tell you guys straight up to not worry about your pitch or what key you're in or anything like that. Now, the reason why we're not going to worry, especially as a beginner singer, is because a lot of times the technique that you're working on when you're learning how to sing, when you're starting out as a singer, is going to fix those pitch issues that you're having on their own. So instead of sitting and focusing on trying to sound on pitch so that we're not flat or sharp or singing weird notes, a much better use of your time is learning how to use your voice properly and use your voice in a technical, correct way so that those pitch issues will probably go away on their own for the most part, and you don't even have to focus on them. A lot of students have issues going sharp. A lot of times this is due to an excess of air being pushed through the vocal folds. So when we're pushing way too much air, sometimes that pitch has a tendency to go sharp, too high. Same thing with going flat. A lot of times we're going flat because we're not opening up enough, we're not creating enough space with our mouth. And so that sound just kind of gets trapped in the soft tissue of our vocal tract, and it doesn't allow for the pitch to fully go up to the note. So that's when we become a little bit flat. So when we're working on those technical things and fixing the way that we sing, those pitch issues will a lot of times go away or resolve on their own. In some cases, you may have pretty drastic pitch issues. And in that case, we are going to be working on certain things called ear training. And this is something you can work on with a teacher, or you can look up ear training exercises on your own online. There's tons of ear training exercises. There's actually even ear training apps out there where you can work on hearing a note, singing the note back, and making it the correct note. So what that would look like is if I were to play a C on the piano, and then I were to listen to that sound, that it's specific note, and then I'm able to sing back that specific note correctly. I'm not singing a weird note. I'm not singing something too high or too low. It's so that your ear can pick up those sounds, hear them, and then you're able to sing the same thing back. That is singing on pitch. That is training your ear to sing on pitch, singing the correct notes. This is important as a singer because all we do is sing songs that have specific notes. If you're not able to sing those specific notes or replicate those specific notes, it can then sound really weird to the listener because you're singing things that were not written for the song. It's the same thing when we talk about what key we're singing in for a song. If you're not a musician, you may not have any idea what a key is. And as a singer, it's not super important to understand what that means until you are singing with a band or singing with other instrumentalists. We just want to be able to sing on key, which means singing those correct notes, just like what we were talking about with singing on pitch. You don't need to know that you're singing in the key of E or the key of G, for example, unless you are trying to accompany yourself with an instrument or you are singing with other instrumentalists. Once you become a little bit more intermediate to expert level singer, these are important things to know. But as a beginner, the only thing you need to be able to recognize is if you are singing the right notes for that song. So here's an exercise to start working on that. Find a song that you know very well, something you know super well. Then you're going to find the karaoke track for that song on YouTube. You're going to sing through the song, record yourself singing it with the karaoke track, and then you're going to listen to the recorded vocals while you listen to the actual singer on another device. So you're going to play them either back to back, play one at a time, whatever works for you, so that you can really listen and see if you're singing the notes similar to what that singer is singing. It doesn't have to be 100%, right? We're a beginner, we're just starting out, but we want to know if you're even kind of close or if you're really struggling with staying on those notes. Another thing you can do is show this to a friend or show this to a vocal coach or somebody who maybe already does some singing or does some music. They probably already have a really decent ear, and so they could hear if you're singing on pitch, if you're singing the correct notes, all of those things, if you're having a lot of trouble hearing it. Find somebody that you feel comfortable showing that to and see if they can give you some feedback, whether you're singing those notes correctly or if you're singing, somewhere in the ballpark of correctly, or if it's just way off. Now, you might have to try this a few times, right? We might have to listen to the singer, kind of hear the song a lot to get it in our ear, train our ear with those notes, and then go back and sing it with the karaoke track. And like I said, it does not have to be 100% perfect. We are just starting out. We are just beginning our singing journey. So that is okay if it is slightly off or not every single note is the same, especially if the singer is doing big belty stuff or lots of runs or something that's pretty tricky. It's okay if it's not 100% repeating what that singer is singing. But the main thing about this exercise is to tell you if you have pitch issues and how drastic they could be, so that you have a place to start and so that you understand kind of what you need to work on, if you need to do lots of ear training or if you can really just jump into working on technical stuff. Okay, next we're going to talk about how to sing runs, how to approach singing runs, and how to break them down and make them easier for you. For a lot of people, singing runs and riffs comes really easily, but for a lot of people, myself included, it does not come naturally. So if those things do not come naturally to you, here's what you're going to do, and here's how we're going to start to approach them. First, what is a run and what is a riff? A run and a riff are simply multiple notes, different notes on the same word. So when we're singing, it's multiple notes, different sounds, but on the same word. An example of that could be really long run, like the word warm in Tennessee Whiskey. You're as warm. There's a million notes on that run, right? Or it could be a really short run, maybe a 3-note run, like in Rolling in the Deep by Adele. There's a fire, fire, fire. So there's only 3 notes in that word, but it's still considered a run. So we have lots of runs throughout music. It's kind of what makes it interesting. It kind of gives us something cool to listen to. It's super fun, but it can be tricky to make them really accurate. Even for myself, like I said, these don't come naturally to me, and so I have to work really hard at runs. What we're working with here is vocal agility, being able to quickly move to different notes and accurately at the same time. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out first what notes are in that run. So let's take fire from Rolling in the Deep, that word fire, and we're going to figure out what 3 notes are in that run. There's a fire, 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 right? We've got 3 notes and then a repeated note at the end there. So I can hear that because I'm used to figuring out the notes in a run. But if that feels really tricky for you, take the song, slow it down, and listen to it as many times as you need to figure out what notes are in that run. Sing through it, do the work, and figure out what notes are in that run. Once you figure out what notes are in that run, fire, You're going to sing it really slow and on either a number pattern or on a syllable like da or D or something that feels good for you. And it's going to look like this. There's a da 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 da. Now you can hear I'm really punching each note and making it super consistent. This is because we want it to be accurate, because we don't want our muscle memory to remember us singing it not accurate. So if you do the run way too fast, too many times, and it's really sloppy, your muscle memory is going to remember that run in a really sloppy way, and it's going to be hard to redo it. So we want to start slow and only speed up that run once you can, because it's super accurate. So I'm not going to jump in and go fire and it's super sloppy, and I'm not going to practice that 100 times at that speed, because then my muscle memory is just going to remember it at that speed, and it becomes a lot harder to then fix that problem later on. So we're going to keep it slow. We're going to keep it on a da, and I'm going to practice it over and over and over again on a da at that speed until it's accurate every time. Just like this. Da 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 da. Now you can hear I'm doing it very accurately at that speed. Once you feel really comfortable with that, then you can speed it up a little bit. Da 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 da. Still very accurate. And then once you feel really good about that sped up speed, it's feeling really accurate, put it back on the word and see if you can do it at that kind of medium speed. Fire, fire, fire. Sounds really good, very accurate. Then, after a few days of practicing this, you can really move towards the regular speed, and it's going to feel easy. There's a fire, fire. Very effortless. So again, to recap, the key with runs is going slow, figuring out what those notes are, being very accurate about it, getting the muscle memory to be accurate, and working little bits every day. If you're really working on runs every day, just a little bit, we're not jumping into a crazy run like the one from Tennessee Whiskey. We're doing a 3-note run. It's super simple. Eventually, you're going to be able to work your way up. The reason why people are very good at singing runs is because they sing them all the time. They sing those different note patterns all the time, and their voice starts to get used to it. So that's what we're going to do, but we're going to start really slow so that we can gain that accuracy and make it super, super accurate for our muscle memory and for that vocal agility. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about is how to train your voice as a beginner singer. This is super important because we want to make sure that we're doing the best training that we can for our voice in the least amount of time. People are busy. We don't have hours every day to work on singing. And if you do, that's awesome, but you don't need that. What we need is 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day to devote to strengthening our voice and to gaining some of that coordination, strength, and agility that we need to become a successful singer. So you're going to mark out 10 minutes to 20 minutes a day. And what you're going to do is start like this. We're going to start by warming up for 3 to 5 minutes. This is going to look like a very easy warm up to start out with, something like lip trills or ooh, ooh, or humming. One of those 3 is going to give you a really nice, easy warm up throughout your range. So you're going to start low, go all the way to where you feel comfortable high, go back down low, do a couple of those. So it's going to sound like something like that. Then once you've kind of done that easy warm up for about a minute to really get your voice ready to go, then you're going to jump into something a little more intensive. Maybe some E's, maybe some ahs. I have tons of warm-up videos on my channel if you want to look those up and work through those. And just 3 to 5 minutes of a very easy warm-up is going to get you ready to jump into working on your voice. After you've done those 3 to 5 minutes, you are going to work on something that is specific for what you're trying to learn. If you are trying to learn how to sing with a powerful belt, you're going to work on some chest voice belty exercises. If you are trying to learn how to sing runs, for example, you are going to work on some run exercises. If you are trying to sing in a mix, you are going to work on some of those mix exercises, etc. This is where having a teacher can kind of come into play because they are able to hear your voice and tell you what you need to work on and what exercises would be great for you. If you don't have the means to get a teacher, which I know a lot of people don't, this is where you're going to have to do your own research and see what your voice really needs. It's going to be kind of looking at what you struggle with when you sing and doing some research onto what exercises are going to be good for that. You can also leave me comments about like questions that you have about your specific voice, and I'd be happy to see what exercises would work great for you. So then you're going to spend the next of the 10 minutes working on those specific exercises for your voice. This can be kind of tiring, so that's why we're only spending about 10 minutes doing this. Our voice needs to ramp up, and especially when you're a beginner singer, you can't jump in and start belting a new technique or a new skill for 30 minutes without feeling fatigue. And a lot of times that's where we kind of start to feel tired as a beginner singer. We need to think of our voice as a muscle that needs to be trained. And so it's going to take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to kind of work on the same exercise, slowly doing more and more each day. Even taking rest days in between is necessary. So we're just going to spend 10 minutes working on that exercise and strengthening whatever we're working on that day. Then if you have some time left over, I encourage you to pick a song and start working through that song. Now, the key with this is we don't want it to be insanely difficult. If you're a beginner singer, we don't want to jump in and start singing Celine Dion or Whitney Houston or just something insanely hard. It can feel discouraging, and it can also lead to bad habits and more tension than we want. So we want to pick something that feels doable, something that feels approachable, maybe something you know very well and you've sung before and you feel like you can kind of sing it well. And then you're going to start working through that song. You want to actually print out the sheet music or the lyrics to that song, have it in front of you. And the first step is going to be figuring out where you're going to breathe in those words. So we don't want to be thinking about where we're going to have to breathe. We want to just see it directly on the page when we're practicing. Because if we miss a breath or we don't have enough breath, it can be really tricky to focus on other things. So take that out of the equation, write in your sheet music where you're going to breathe, have it directly in front of you, and then you're going to start working through the song like you would with a teacher. Meaning, you're not going to sing the song through 100 times. You're going to work on one section. So if we're going to work on a section of the song that's just the chorus, for example, and then you're going to sing through that chorus with a karaoke track or with the song or whatever works for you, and you're going to stop and think about where are the spots that I feel like I wasn't getting it. And you're going to do some thinking about what could be causing that. So is it maybe it feels strained, or it feels like you're pinching, or did it feel like you didn't reach that high note, or what did you feel like was going on? And then you're going to start to look up exercises for that specific thing. And that's going to be what you're going to work on. Again, if you have a teacher or access to a teacher, this can be really great because it's going to streamline this process, having a professional look at that and tell you kind of what you need to work on. But if you don't have the means to that, you can still find great resources online. It's just about being careful who you're getting those resources from because there is a lot of misinformation out there. So that's going to be how you're going to train your voice. 10, 15, 20 minutes a day is going to be all you need to start strengthening and gaining coordination and agility with your voice. Thank you guys for watching this entire video. If you haven't seen my part 1 of my beginner singer's guide, go watch that one. It has great information. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to help you out. I am all for helping out people who don't have the ability to get a teacher. Leave me your questions. Let me know what you're struggling with as a beginner singer out there, and I would love to help you out. Thank you guys. Please don't forget to subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next one.